It's Alex. I'm here at my old place. It's a bit lonely around here now. John's Merc's still here, but not for long. Anyway, I'm here to service a NISSAN Primera. Exciting. Bit of a Nissan fest here, isn't it? First thing I'm going to do is get the sump plug out and drain out the oil so it can drain out whilst I'm doing the other little jobs. If you're changing the oil on the ground, you need to get clearance underneath. You're going to need to jack it up. You'll get away with jacking up just one side. If you find out which side has got the sump plug on, you want to jack on the opposite side so the oil slides out. Otherwise, if you jack it the other way, the oil won't come out. Jacking point on the Primera. Look down. And there's a lip here. If you can see. There's a lip, there's two little notches. And that's where you want to put the jack. I'll show you at the back. There's the notches, and you've got the same on the front, and you want to put the jack here. Not on there, definitely not. Make sure the handbrake is on, and ideally you want to chock the wheels to stop the car from rolling off. Normally I'd use a much better jack than this, but this is all I've got available today. You don't need the car off the ground for this. It doesn't matter if the wheel's not turning, as long as you've got enough clearance to get underneath. But before you get underneath, always fit an axle stand. Ideally, I'd put an axle stand under the axle, but it's a bit low down. I don't need to go that high up. So under here, I found a strong point. Looks like some sort of towing eye thing there. That is absolutely solid. So I'm going to put the axle stand under here. So if anything happens to the jack, it will rest on this. And what I'll do now is turn the jack so it comes down a little bit and just rests on the axle stand. That's it. So now the car is resting on that and the axle stand. Much safer than just having the jack. Right, I need to remove this underpan. I think it's just this one I need to take off. We've got a little clip here. Looks like some missing. That one's missing. And then we've got two clips. So you should be able to just edge that middle bit out. I really want to get some pliers on and pull that off, but I managed to do that with my fingers. And that one. That's that one. Looks like there's another one. Oh yes, I remember. That's a little, I think it's a 10mm bolt over there that's also holding this on. This is my oil drainer. Make sure that lid's on tight. Yeah. And we want this and this off. No, don't lose it. Put it somewhere safe with your tools. Right. The under tray's off. I'm going in. I hope you can see that there's your sump plug there. It's only little. Some cars have got massive sump plugs. Put your oil drainer underneath, and you want it, if you're on a slight slope, make sure it's angled so it's going to drain into the little hole, because that's where it's going. Be careful if the engine's hot, because you don't want hot oil burning you. Ooh, who done this up? Ironically, it was me, because I was the last one to service this car. Oof. But no leaks, is there? So I did a good job. Now, how's this gonna come out? You might lose that. It might fly off in there, but if you can catch it, oh, there you go. That's what happens, because otherwise, if you're not careful, if you don't move your hand out the way, you get oil all down your sleeve, and it's horrible. And there we go. We can let that drain out now. Now, once the oil is draining out, you can clean up the sump plug. Right? Now, if you're anything like me, when you get the service kit, you'll completely forget to get a new washer for the sump plug. It's normally a copper washer, quite crushable. So, unfortunately, we've still got the old washer here. So I'll leave it well alone, put it back on. A substitute, if you're like me, in your toolbox, you'll have some handy PTFE tape. PTFE tape is what you call plumber's tape. So you wrap this around threads of things, and it stops stuff creeping out of the threads, basically. So, oh, I hope you can see okay. Put some of this round. Let's cut it off so it gets too clumsy. Okay. I just want to wrap it tightly around the threads, and it will stop it leaking. If it wants to leak, it won't leak. Does that make sense? Because when you do this up, it will compact the tape between the threads, and it will stop any oil trying to escape. There we are. That's a good little bodge to remember that. Always have some PTFE tape in your toolbox. Whilst the oil's draining out, we can do some easy jobs. Air filter. We've got some clips around this box. 4 clips. And there you will find your filter. And you could take this all the way off, but there's no point. Yeah, that's dirty. It's going black, and it's full of pollen, which is, you know, to be expected. Even a spider. See, that spider could have got into the air intake and affect the engine's performance. So remember which way up that was. Yeah, it came out that way, so we'll get a new one. The new one looks like it's slightly different, hasn't got this mesh on it, but it does actually feel better quality. This is a MAN filter. I don't know which filter this is, not sure. Right. Made in South Africa, not China, which is unusual. Well, that fits really nice actually, that filter. But can you see? Oh, it just sits in there. Yeah. Happy days. And then you can just clip this lid back on. Can't do it with one hand. Can I? Yes, I can. Easy. People pay hundreds for service. You can just do it yourself. Look at that. Air filter change with one hand. Put that in the bin. Another thing often skipped on a service is spark plugs. I see many service sheets that they've changed the oil and the filter and that's it. But I always change the spark plugs. They don't cost much and it's not a hard job to do. First thing I'm going to do, 4 10mm bolts. Take this engine cover off. Engine. Yes, believe it or not, underneath modern cars' plastic there is actually still an engine. So on this Nissan you've got individual coils. You've got one per cylinder. That's what these are. And they got a plug going to them. Now if I remember rightly, we need to remove these 10mm bolts. We might get away with leaving them plugged in, but to remove the plugs it's easy. There's a little thing on top, so you push it down, in, and then out. Okay? Because sometimes if you just press it down and out, it doesn't always come off straight away. Sometimes you have to push it in and then down and then out. Just don't get these muddled up, whatever you do, but you should be okay because the way they're designed. So we'll take these out now. These just pull out. That is a coil. Okay? They're all the same, all 4, so it doesn't matter if you actually get these muddled up, but I like to keep them in order. And in there, deep down, there's a spark plug. See if you can see it on the camera. It's just a big dark hole, isn't it? Let me get a torch. There it is. There's the spark plug all the way down there. So make sure you've got a nice long extension bar on your ratchet and your spark plug socket to get down there. Now, my spark plug socket's really old, but if you've got a new spark plug socket, when you undo them and pull the socket out, you should have a spark plug on the end of it. But in this case, I can't get them out. They're so far down in there. So, a little trick, because this coil's got a nice rubber thing that grips onto the spark plug, put that in, have a fish around, ta-da! You can get your spark plug out that way. Happy days. Here's our old spark plug, bit minging, and here's our new one. I would just have a little look at them and make sure the supplier's giving you the right spark plug, yeah. Just make sure it's the same length, things like that. Really, you should check the gaps on the plugs with a gauge, you know. What do they call them? Feeler gauge, yeah. But I just have a look. You know, it's not a precision piece of engineering, this Nissan. As long as the gaps look similar to the gaps that got took out, we're okay. And what you don't want is to find that one of these has been dropped and there's not a gap here, but you must have a gap. Next thing I do is I get a bit of grease, smear it around the threads, or like me today, I forgot my grease. So I'm going to get a bit of engine oil, smear it on the threads before I dunk it in. Do not get oil or grease in this area here. Just on the threads, down the end here, just to stop them seizing into the head. So a nice way to do it again, stick your spark plug into your coil, take it down, and you can start the thread off with that. That's it. Or you could just buy a new spark plug socket, you know, it'd be a lot easier, wouldn't it? Now you don't need to really go mad on these, you don't have to become the Incredible Hulk to do these up. That's it, nice. Don't have to put too much pressure on the bar, there's no need for it. Lovely. Excellent. So now this fella can pop back in. Obviously you want to line it up with the bolt holes here. Make sure your plug's on, and this fella here, okay, get the plug on. And this fella here. Don't get them plugs mixed up. It's another good thing about keeping the coils in order because they painted them so they know which one goes where. See, it don't take long to fit a couple of spark plugs, does it? And you saw how manky the old ones looked. They're only about a year old. Again, don't go too mad. They don't need to be super tight. Lovely. So all you got to do now is put the engine cover back on. We don't need to look at anything else really. I won't put it on just yet though, because it does make it a little bit easier to top it up with oil with the cover off. So I'll put that on last minute. Right, try and stop it dribbling as much. Let's get this sump plug back in. Get oil drainer out the way. I don't think you can see any of this, can you? Do it up nice and tight. That'll do. Beautiful. Now, my favourite job on this Nissan, or not my favourite, shall I say, is the oil filter. It's under here somewhere. There it is. Epoxy oil filter. It's really awkward and I'm not really going to be able to film it, I don't think. I suppose you can watch me struggle, hear me struggle. Let's see if I can do it. It's horrible, horrible job. Oh dear. I should have brought I got a new oil filter wrench. I should have brought that. Because I tell you what, epoxy steering rack gets in the way on this one. Here she comes. Here she comes to wreck the day. Once you've loosened it off, should be able to do it with your hand. And this is where it gets horrible. Oh, because it's all going to leak up my hand. I hate you so much, oil filter. I hate you so much. It's pissing on my floor. Look. Put a rag there so catch it. I'd let it dribble if I were you, because it's only going to go up your arm. It's already on my arm. I hate it, I do. I bloody hate it. Whilst it's having a dribble, go and get the new one. Go and moan at the new one and get that ready. Look, you can just about get to the oil filter. If we look from above, you can just about see. Just about see. Probably not, I don't know if you can see, but you can get your hand down here if it's little and undo the filter the rest of the way. Ooh. Tell you what, we can just drop that to the ground. Bye. The new oil filter, get a bit of engine oil, smear it around the rubber O-ring, smear it around the thread. I don't need to tell you why, just do as you're told. You might be able to get this filter on here, although no, I'll do it from underneath. Start engine. Someone missed the T off. You probably can't see anything, can you? Incoming. Find where the filter goes on. Which is up here somewhere. Where are you? Can't see for looking. There it is up there. You can't see it. Just give it a rag round. Give it a clean where it's going to mate. Yeah. Probably just see my arm. But never mind. Make it as clean as possible so it seals up. Nice. Right, don't put the old filter back on. We've got the new one, which is down here. Spin him on. Lovely jubbly. Finally got the oil filter done up tight. Again, it doesn't have to be silly tight, but don't want it leaking. So sump plugs in, new oil filters on. I've put 2.5 litres of oil in because I believe that's what it takes. What we'll do now is, before we get the jack down, we'll start her up and make sure she's running okay and not leaking. You must not forget to put the oil in before you start it up, okay? And when starting a car, I would make sure you're in it and your foot's on the brake and on the clutch. Make sure it's out of gear. It's alive. Right, we'll let it run for a minute. All we've been doing now is checking for leaks. And the leaks in the underneath, so we need to keep an eye on underneath. So far so good. I always like to check the antifreeze, not just the level, because the level's fine. I like to check that it's going to be suitable. See if it needs changing, see if it's too weak, too strong. let the air come out of it and the discs settle. Right, we've got 3 discs floating. That means it's protected up to -10 Fahrenheit, -23 Celsius. So that's absolutely fine for Britain. If you're going to top it up, you know, if it gets a bit low and you're going to top it up, I'll just top it up with neat antifreeze, and that'll bring it up to 31, -31 protection. And it's always worth doing that. Wow. I was going to show you how to set the service light and have a look at the brakes, but unfortunately John's had to rush off, so never mind. If you do Google how to set a service light on a Nissan Primera, it is out there, because that's how I learned how to do it. So yeah, once you've serviced it, reset the service light, make a note in your service book, or like I've done, I've just written out what I've done, the date, the mileage, and I've left it with John, so he's got a you know, evidence of what's been done. With the brake fluid was quite low. Normally that means the brakes are getting low, like pads, so it's always worth to check the brake pads. He's not long had an MOT, so they should be okay, but it's always worth, if the brake fluid's low, have a look around the brakes just in case it's leaking or the pads are getting low. For now we've just topped it up and he's gone. So maybe that's a job for me another day. Thanks for watching. Bye.